Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans for Tuesday, October 20th, 2020. My name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of NotaryCoach.com and author of the Amazon best-selling book, Sign and Thrive, How to Make Six Figures as a Mobile Notary and Loan Signing Agent. I'm here with my co-host, Carol Ray, founder of Notary2Pro.com. Carol, how's it going today?
Well, we're moving forward, and I know you're going to ask me what I'm excited about. I'm excited because we signed our closing disclosure this morning.
Awesome.
And looks like escrow is going to close on our house in Texas on Monday, and it is chaos here. And the internet took me an hour and 15 minutes to download the closing disclosure and to sign it. and it's ridiculous. Oh, our internet just terrible. So I'm not on camera. I hope I don't lose the whole thing altogether. It's been really bad here, but we're excited. We're going to be saying from now on, when I see you guys go, I'm going to be saying, hi, y'all. Good morning.
I love accents like that. That's great. And then I hope your internet at your new place is 100 times, 1,000 times better than what you've got where you're at.
We are under the understanding that it will be. So I'm going to be muting myself a lot because it's very noisy here.
All right, no problem. I think I'm thinking Laura might be running just a few minutes late, probably due to traffic issues, and hopefully she'll jump on here in just a couple minutes. Guys, we've got already a great list of questions or raised hands, so we'll just dive right into it. And I believe it's iPhone or iPhone, however you pronounce it. You're up.
Yeah. My name is Neil from Arizona. How are you?
Excellent. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Just out here busy, just taking a little break. I just had a couple of questions, one question and one comment. My first question is, when it comes to the signature affidavit, AKA statement that's not already pre-filled in, if a person is signing, say, as John Doe, but their license says John David Doe, is it automatic that whatever's on their license should be on that form?
That's a good question. Carol, what's your opinion on this?
Okay, I had to unmute. If it's more on the driver's license, if they have a middle initial or a middle name on the driver's license and they don't on the documents or on the AKA statement or whatever it is, the signature affidavit, you're okay. You just need to make sure, and this is something I really tell my students, don't just look at that license and write down the number. You need to feel that license. You need to look at their description. You need to compare the birth date on that license or identification card to who's sitting in front of you. If it says they're born in 1943 like me, and they look like they're 36, then you got a problem. But yes, you're fine. And anytime you have a list of names, sometimes the names will be really weird and the people will look at that and they'll say, I never used that name. Then for most companies, all you need to do is just have them cross it out, say never used, and initial it. There's different things that you may have to handle with those different statements. And if you're really stuck, call the lender or whoever hired you.
Okay, so just to clarify, so you're saying that if they don't want to put what's on their license because they never go by their middle name or whatever, that's okay?
Yeah, that's fine. And we've talked about legal signatures too. If somebody signs with a signature that you can't read, it's like a scribble or a picture of a cat, which I've seen. And you can absolutely verify that constitutes their full name or equals their legal description, their legal signature, then you can accept that. Don't let the lender tell you that they have to be able to read every part of that name because you cannot ask people to forge their own signature. So check the ID carefully. If it's more in the identification than it is in the documents, you're good to go.
Okay.
And also, Neil, so specifically on the signature AKA statement, Unless you have specific instructions from the lender or the closing agent to tell you to do so, it's not your responsibility to have the signer fill that out. So if it comes through and it
Right.
just has a bunch of blank lines, it's not your responsibility to ensure that all of those name variations are added in by the signer. So if it's blank, it's blank.
Okay.
You can have the borrowers address it with like NA if you want, because it's usually a notarized document. So you usually encourage the signer to address those blank lines, but it's not your responsibility.
Right. And my second
I
comment.
would also, oh,
Go ahead. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
was just going to add too, that I found that it's not an idea if they say, well, I did go by something time. Don't open a can of worms. Just leave it as it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I understand. The other comment I wanted to make was it seems like one of the biggest trip ups right now in signings is I'm noticing that a lot of the documents are already pre-filled, more specifically the Patriot Act. And what I'm finding is a lot of that pre-filled info is incorrect, missing digits from the license number, saying it's actually a license, but they have it under state ID. The actual expiration date is wrong. So I just want to let all the newer notaries out there be careful. Don't let that trip you up, because a lot of times that information is not wrong and is not correct, rather, and you're signing off on that. So you want to double check to make sure that the information that's put on that form is correct.
Excellent advice, because that happens all the time. In fact, I don't know how some of these lenders process mortgages in the first place, because there's so many errors on that pre-filled Patriot Act form. And I thought they were moving away from doing that, but maybe they're getting back into it again. But always, because you are signing that, so make sure that information is valid and correct. And it's easy to correct it. Just correct it like you correct anything else. Strike through, initial, make the corrections. Thank you for that, Neil.
All right, thank you.
Diane, great to see you here.
Hello again today. So I am from Easton, Pennsylvania. I am a new loan signing agent, and I have a question on my first assignment that was just assigned to me today for Friday. And the person who emailed me said that they got my information off Notary Cafe, but when I looked at the email, the company that they said they were from, the email didn't come from the company name, it came from a Gmail address. The second thing is I went and I looked at the company website, and it's an attorney's office in Florida. That person who sent me the email was not listed as part of their team. Don't know if that's a problem. So I emailed back. She asked me what my rate was, and I told her, and she sent me a link to a SharePoint site to download the package. Now, she said that the buyer agreement was only 100 pages. So that kind of threw up a red flag, because you've said that it should be anywhere from 150 to 250 pages or whatever. So I don't know, there's just little red flags that are popping up at me, and I'm just wondering, am I being overly concerned for no reason?
That's a great question. I can see Alicia just commented in the notes too that she just got the same email. So that tells me that's a red flag. I think, Diane, you're being very diligent and present. For an attorney to use a Gmail address is a red flag for sure. Number of pages.
Sorry, she's listed as a legal assistant for the company. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely fishy. Carol, Laura, you have anything you want to jump in here on?
I didn't get that one, but I've had one similar, and they're scams. They're not real assignments.
Well, what are they trying to accomplish?
I don't know, because I hit spam. I don't even reply. I don't know what they're doing.
Sometimes if they give you a link to click, sometimes they're putting malware on your computer or something along those lines.
Okay.
So that's something.
Yeah, don't even click on those emails. Yeah, don't even click on those emails, and go with your gut. I tell my students that all the time. It has gotten me through 77 years of staying out of trouble. Go with your gut.
And anybody can put up a website and claim to be like a legal office too. So I like to do it like a Google search, see if they have reviews, have people use them, does it look like they're established, are they publishing articles, that kind of thing, to give a little bit of legitimacy.
Yeah, I didn't click on any of the links in her email. I actually did Google the law firm, and it does come up, and it's a real place with a real address and real people.
Okay, and she's listed on their website.
For info.
Sorry.
She could be using their information.
Yeah,
Okay.
that happens too. So we had somebody in Sign and Thrive where this happened, and she called that legal officer, it may have even been the title office, and said, hey, I've got this email from somebody at the Gmail that says she works here, and she didn't actually work there. So it could be. It's unfortunate that this stuff happens. It really clutters up an otherwise really great business, but yet these things do exist. The bad guys see tremendous value in the information that we get to touch every day. So we got to be really careful of that.
Okay, thanks for all the advice. At least
Yeah,
I'm going down the right path.
Yeah, definitely. Way to be diligent too. Okay, guys, real quick, to raise your hand, you can hover your mouse over my face right now on the screen, and the toolbar is going to pop up on the bottom. There's a participants button. When you select the participants, a window pane comes up on the right, and you can see your name at the top of that list. If you select more, there will be a place to raise your hand. Some updates have just an icon with a little hand that you can select, and you can wave. Do that. Also, guys, I apologize. I'm getting lots of direct messages. I can't read all the direct messages. I apologize. Thank you for some of the stuff going on, but publish your questions publicly, and then other people can help answer. We have an amazing community. And then when you want to save the chat at the end of the call, there's an option to save the chat. Click those 3 buttons that are down there, and it says save chat. And then you can get all that information that everybody's contributing here. And then Laura's here. Laura, thank you. I appreciate you chiming in here. Thanks for getting here. How's it going today?
Good. I'm still recovering from the weekend, but it was a glorious weekend. And I had several helpers, quite a few at my home, assembling those welcome boxes. And it was a day, let me tell you. And Carrie and Valerie and Matt Miller, my own adult children, my husband, it took all of us all day into 10 o'clock at night to get those ready. And on Sunday, my shipping center friend, and here's one, a story of collaboration, and 2, a story of relationships, because she opened her store for me on Sunday, her only day off, so I could bring all those boxes over, and she brought her daughters in to apply all the postage for us so that we didn't pay the new postage that went up for Monday, because postage went up. If you didn't know it, there was an increase. It saved us $400 in postage because she was willing to do that on a Sunday for me.
Amazing.
It was, I know, amazing. She's not even done with other stuff she'll have to ship for me, but just incredible. So now, guys, anybody on the call who is expecting a welcome box, because you're one of the first 300 who registered with Symposium, they're on their way, and I expect you to be receiving them starting about Thursday or Friday of this week if you're in California, and then probably into next week if you're in other states.
Fantastic. Is there any seats left? Can people still get in there?
It's like 10. There might be 10.
I'm
That's
going to
it.
put the link in the chat window, notarysymposium.com. If you haven't got your ticket yet, you're not going to want to miss this. Laura, thank you so much. I'm glad you're here, and your hair looks great too. Is that a new?
Thanks. A couple weeks old.
Okay.
So I'm just getting into it.
Okay.
Just getting into the style. You know, you get your hair cut, you can't quite figure it out. So
Love it. All right. Henry Felder, so glad you're here. Tell us what state you're in and what is your question? But don't forget to unmute yourself first. There we go.
All right, Bill. Hi. Hello to you and the team. 2 questions. One of them, I'm in New York. I had a loan signing the other day. It was a SEMA mortgage package, I guess. And I noticed they had a note and mortgage, but they also had something called a new money gap mortgage. If the loan was $300,000, the money gap was like $8,000 or $9,000. My understanding was that this small amount was the difference between the old loan and the new loan, as far as taxes or exemptions. Do you know anything about that?
I have not heard of a gap loan like this, so I don't have anything to offer here. Carol, Laura, have you heard of these?
Nothing for me.
Never heard of it. The only thing gap insurance I've heard of is
I-
like on car insurance. Carol, do you know something on that?
Well, I've seen some of them in the documentations, and it has something to do with the difference between value and what they can provide, that they say that they will automatically up whatever coverage it is to cover that gap. That's all I know. I've not actually seen that document, but I've talked to a couple of graduates who've seen something like that. And it has something to do with the coverage. It's at a certain level at one point, but if it were to go up to another higher level, then they will cover it. They'll take care of that gap.
Interesting, Henry. That's something I've never heard of. I'm going to do a little bit of research on that. And if there's anybody from New York that has experience with this, please comment in the chat window so Henry can maybe get a little more detailed information. Thanks for
Bill,
bringing
one
that
more
to us,
question.
Henry. Yeah, you
Bill,
bet.
one more question. This one
Sure.
is for Laura. I saw on one of the forums that it's recommended for the notaries to actually print their name under their signature line on the notarial part. I only do it if I see a line that says print your name. Is that recommended, or is that just, you know?
So I think it's one of two things. One is if the form has a place to do it, I do it. If the form doesn't have a place to do it, I don't do it unless there's some other requirement for me to do so in my state. So in my state, no, I don't have to print my name underneath, but sometimes there's no statute, but I'll see a confirmation instruction that'll say, please print your name under your signature. So if I get instruction, or if there's a line on the form, either one of those happen, I do it. And then if there isn't, I don't do it. So that's how I work it. But that's because I'm not dealing with law here. I'm dealing with somebody's preference.
Thank you.
Excellent.
There is an answer for you on the chat window from both Nicole M. and Tabitha. They're in New York, and they are describing that. There's a link in there too. You might want to take a look at the chat window.
Great.
It's
All right,
really
thank
good
you.
information.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Nicole and Tabitha.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much.
Oh, for the gap loan.
Got it. Thank
Oh,
you.
great.
All right, Annie Lau, thank you for being here. Tell us what state you're in and what's your question?
Hi, Bill. My name is Annie, California. I got two quick questions. The first one is I came across this document called Deed of Trust with assignment of rent. And can somebody tell me what it is and how do you describe that to signer? And my second question, it's a deed of trust. I sometimes see there's error on like a name and then followed by single woman, a man, woman, like there's typo in the title where the title vested on the borrower line. I usually just tell, if there's a mistake, I tell signer to cross out initial and then put the correct information in it. Is that the right way of doing it, or we not? Can you? Someone, I just want to verify that's the right way of doing it. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds
Bill,
good. So
I'd like to
first,
answer that first question. Oh,
sure.
Bill? Yeah, let me answer that because I get this all the time. There's two documents that are in a signing package oftentimes, and they have to do with the sale of a loan at the close of escrow when the lender is selling off the loan. There are two documents. One is called an allonge, and I tell my students, you really don't have to do anything but just turn it over, because I've not ever seen one where the buyer actually has to sign it. You do have to just kind of glance and make sure, but it's the transfer of the interest in the note over to the new lender. The assignment of the deed of trust or the assignment of rents is also turning the interest over in the deed of trust, or if there's any leases or rentals on the property, over to the new lender. So that's all that is, and oftentimes it's included in the package. It doesn't need to be signed or notarized by the notary.
Awesome. And then I just want to clarify too, because I think we might be talking about two different things here. So Annie, I think, what Carol just described is in there very oftentimes. And then also there's a 1 to 4 family rider assignment of rents.
Right.
And that comes when there is an investment property. Is that what you're talking about?
It's the title is called deed of trust was assignment of rent, and that document actually requires notarization.
Yeah, so that's the 1 to 4 family rider. So they include that. The assignment of rents essentially says, like if you were to read that entire document, the way I like to briefly describe it is that this essentially says that this acknowledges that this is an investment property and that any mortgages on the property have to be paid before you can profit from the rent. That's what if you were to read that whole document, that's usually what it says. So what the spirit of that document is what happened in like 2007, 2008 is landlords were taking people's rent, but they weren't paying their mortgage with it. So people were getting foreclosed on. They thought they were paying their rent, and then the house gets foreclosed on. That document is designed to inform and hopefully prevent that from happening.
Got it. Thank you.
You bet. Carol, Laura, did you want to add anything to that?
So that's what I was going to add. Thank you, Bill.
Sure. And then as far as correcting the deed of trust when the vesting is wrong. So I usually, what I've learned is that vesting can often be corrected, but it can have such an impact that I like to clarify that, especially if it says unmarried, but the person across from you says, hey, I'm married. That could be an indication that there's a bigger problem. So I always like to bring that to the closing agent's attention before I change anything. And then I ask them how they want me to fix it. Do you want me to strike through, have them write it in there and initial it, or is there a bigger problem here?
Right.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, you got it. Thanks for being here. All right, Javier, what's going on? Tell us what state you're in and what your question is. You got to unmute first, though, Javier. Javier going once. Oh, and now he's gone. We'll come back to you. Apollonia, thanks for being here. You want to unmute and tell us what state you're in?
Hello, family. How are you? Thank you for taking my question. My name is Apollonia Barksdale. I'm in Illinois. I do have a piggyback question regarding the signature AKA form. My question is, frequently I have signers who say the middle initial, the first and the last name may be correct in the list of names listed, but the middle initial may not be ever used. This is not me, or they may not even have a middle initial. Do you just simply cross the entire name for that with the middle initial that's not applicable to that signer, or do you cross out the middle initial, have them initial, and then never known as?
Okay, so first of all, what I'll say to this is that my objective on this document would be to have them make no changes whatsoever. So I'm trying to relieve any pressure about this being a document that's going to change anything for them. So they can't make, like a lot of times they think if I make this correction here, it's going to go back and all the credit reporting systems are going to be updated with this new strike through. It doesn't go through that. So I'm kind of downplaying it. So my goal is, these are some of the names that have been associated with you from your credit report. If you would, the lender wants you sometimes to sign as that name is all the way down, or sometimes they'll just have them sign it once, just acknowledging a block of names all the same. For the most part, that'll go super smooth and people just sign it and they might say, well, gosh, that's never been me. At which point we can share that, yeah, a lot of this information comes from the credit reporting agencies. If you've ever had a magazine subscription or a credit card offer where they mistyped your name, that follows you forever. So that could be what it is. And then if they say, well, this is wrong, because every now and then you'll get them, it's like 1%. There's just, everything has to be perfected. If it's that big of a deal to them, then we can go in and say, you know what we could do is just strike through that, initial that, or as Carol said earlier, if they feel really strongly about something, they could strike through their name, initial it, and then write never known as on the signature line. So there's a couple different options there.
So, Bill,
So if it's just the issue with the middle initial, Should they strike through the entire name or just the middle initial?
If they have, so if they have a passionate desire to do that, then
Yeah,
it
I
would
had an
probably
attorney
be,
last night. I had an attorney last night and she would not pass this form without crossing that middle initial. I
yeah,
think it's just a hit or miss on that. But
Yeah.
I had an attorney last night and she just was like, no, I've never been known as, I've never used this middle initial. And she didn't even have a middle initial. That was
Yeah.
the thing.
yeah. So for me, I would probably just have her strike through the entire name, because that
Gotcha.
the entire name is the name with the middle initial. Strike through it and initial it.
Gotcha.
Very
That's really
rarely would
good.
that cause a problem in the back end, I think.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, Carol,
Yeah,
Laura,
I like
anything you'd like
that.
to add?
Yes, I do. You know, my goal is to not strike if I don't have to. So if I do have to do a never known as, I don't have them strike their name. I just have them write never known as next to it and sign. It depends on which form you have. Sign never known as. Some of them where they have to sign over and over again. I'd have them sign their correct name, but put never known as to the bad name and not have them strike. Sometimes I get title companies that it's a big deal to add strikes to a document. So if I can find another way to resolve it without striking, same thing with a certificate I'm not going to use. If I'm not going to use it, I leave it blank and I just write see attached certificate. I don't strike it out. I attach mine. So unnecessary striking can create issues with title companies, and Provident is one that's a real bugaboo about that. But there's others. So if you can find another way that would be passable by your signer to address their concern, I would avoid striking as often as possible.
I love that. Unnecessary striking. It's like a notary foul.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great question. Nico, thanks for being here. What's going on?
Oh, perfect. Thanks for your timing. I was just going to add to that question on the affidavit. If they cross out multiple names,
Nico, you sound really far away.
Sorry about that. Let me get off the Bluetooth. How about now? Is this better?
Yeah, way better.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I was going to say on the affidavit, if they cross out multiple names, do they have to initial each one and write never known as for each one they cross out?
If it's on that signature line, like if it's the style where they have each name spelled out and then they have to sign after each name, then yes. Well, like Laura said, though, you don't necessarily have to strike it out. Just write not known as, not known as, not known as. If it's the block of names where the lender just types them all in as like a little paragraph of names or a line of names, then they can just strike through an initial. They don't even have to write the never known as.
Got it. Okay. And then can they write NKA or do they have to write out never known as?
Well, AKA means also known as. So that's confirming that they are this person. So I was
saying I was saying NKA for like N for Nancy.
Oh, no, I would not use an acronym that's not globally known. So I'd have them
write it out.
Yeah.
Write it out in initial or sign.
Okay. And then on the venue, when they write, is it state, it says a state, then the city, and then I've seen a line that says to wit, WIT for Tom. What goes in that space?
I'm so glad you brought that up because this is one of those confusing old English terms. To wit means specifically or namely. And Laura, do you mind talking a little bit about that and what you advise people to put in?
I don't put anything in. It's not a required component to be filled in. You just leave it there. Just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Same thing when you see Silicet or SS is another one, or LS, which might go where the seal area is. I don't see that one anymore, but sometimes I still see that little SS, and it's again specifically this county, Silicet. So you don't have to do anything.
Okay, perfect.
Not necessary. And then some people put their city in after to wit if they want really to fill it out. But I usually just leave it alone and it's no problem.
Yeah.
Nice, thank you. And then lastly, if I may, like on the driver's license, sometimes their name is too long, that it only shows their middle initial for their middle name. And on the documents, their middle name is spelled out. So for example, Bob David Smith will be on the documents, and then on their ID, it'll be Bob D. Smith. So, I feel like I can still notarize that because I have the initial, but I'm wondering if, that's room for error. I would think, if that can be a different middle name. So can we legally still notarize that, you think? Or
And you're in Hawaii, right?
yeah, state of Hawaii.
Yeah.
So does your statute say the name must match? Or does it say satisfactory evidence?
Good question. I'd have to check on that, double check that.
So it's very state specific, and most states, not all, but most states say satisfactory evidence. Are you satisfied with all the evidence you've got in front of you that tells you this is that guy? The physical appearance that's on his ID card matches, the birth date seems about right for the guy that's in front of you. If all that together makes you satisfied that he's the guy, then go ahead and notarize it. You can make that decision. Just own that decision. Just make sure that you've done, that. You might even say, hey, can I see something else that you have David on? I don't care if you're a Costco card. What do you got David on? Just anything that's in your wallet that would show me that's you, and make a note of it in your journal.
Okay.
If you're in a state that does not allow for name variation, North Carolina might be that state I'm thinking of, then you've got a different issue.
Right. Okay.
So
Perfect.
the red flag there too, Nico, is that when you have Bob David Smith and the ID has Bob R. Smith on the ID, then that's the red flag you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Good to see you. Lorraine, great to see you here. How are things in Oregon?
Things are fabulous in Oregon, thank you. We are cooling down rapidly to winter. Snow coming on Saturday. I just wanted to share one little incident that I came across a couple of days ago, actually it was yesterday. Persistence. And there was a compliance agreement, and it said notary signature and seal, period. And I said, I can't do this. I need a certificate. I need you to tell me. It went around and around many times, but long story short is I also sent them a copy of the Oregon statutes citing chapter and verse,
Right.
where they finally did tell me what to use. But just wanted to share that it just took a lot of persistence to convince them that I couldn't just sign and seal. That's my share.
I'm glad you did. Thank you. Because I think a lot of times as notaries and loan signing agents, we assume that the lender and the title company knows all the legalities about what they do, and they would never ask us to do something that we couldn't legally do. So we just do it. That's not the case. I've talked to the attorneys who draft this paperwork, and they really have no idea the notary law component of these documents sometimes. So it's imperative, and that's why all three of us, Carol, Laura, myself, we advocate for becoming the notary expert in your state. You have to know what you can do and what you can't do. That's part of integrity here. So it's a constant ongoing process because it's some murky waters for sure. Thank you for sharing that, Lorraine. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Karen, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong spot. I always have a hard time pronouncing your name. Is it Shodel Perez?
Hi, it's Sochi Perez. Nice to meet you.
All right,
Yes.
nice to meet you finally. I've never actually seen you on.
No, I try really hard, but I have a full-time job as well. So
Yeah.
today I snuck out for lunch and half working, half on. I have a couple of questions, so I'll make them fast. I got myself into a bit of a pickle the other day with the California document because I'm from California and I've been doing refinances for this signing company. And I've seen this document over and over again now. It's the per diem document, and it cites two codes, a financial code and a civil code. And my understanding is it's a disclosure of basically when the or the borrower can switch over from the old interest rate to the new interest rate, but it confuses the heck out of me and the borrowers. And I'm sitting there because the lending company gives them 4 options to select from. And the questions that they keep coming back to me with is, well, which one do I put? Now I've gotten savvy enough to say that's not my call. You have to look at this. These are your options. We can call the lender if you'd like more explanation. The lenders don't like the calls, and I've actually gotten hung up on a couple of times for this particular document. And so I was wondering if there's anywhere or anyone who can assist in just giving me some idea of how to summarize and present the options to these borrowers so that I'm doing the job appropriately and giving them what they need. That's one.
All right, let's stop right there and get that addressed, because everybody on this call in California has that same struggle. We get to talk about this document quite a bit. So I'd like Laura or Carol, how can she briefly describe this document in an efficient manner at a loan signing, the per diem document?
I think Carol explained it last week. Carol?
Yeah, I'm here.
What would be a brief description
yeah,
that a notary could use?
It's so simple in one way, but it confuses everybody. If it's the same document, I'm thinking of what it's telling the borrower is that if they are willing to fund and close their loan on a Friday, let's say fund their loan and close on Monday, that they're going to be paying interest for several days. If they want to wait until Monday to fund the loan and then record on Tuesday, let's say, they're only going to be paying 1 day of interest. So it's just a matter, if they're in a hurry, they want to close by Monday, and they're willing to pay the extra $80 or $100 or $120 over the weekend for interest on the money that has been forwarded to the title company on Friday, they can choose to do that. If they want to get it closed, later, if it doesn't matter to them, then they can fund it on Monday, pay 1 day of interest, record the loan on Tuesday. Does that help?
It does. Thank you. Significantly.
Good.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
All right. What's your second question?
Going back to the Patriot Act, one of the things that keeps coming up over and over again with this document is I always ask for 2 forms of ID. That is what the signing company that I work with asks for. But I've had quite a few borrowers get bent out of shape, and they've told me that the prior notaries, are you there? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Don't require 2 forms of ID. Now, to my knowledge, it's 2 forms of ID. Am I incorrect?
Great question. So the Patriot Act form itself tells you.
Yeah.
So there's a little line right above the chart that has the various IDs, and it says we require 1 form or 2 forms. It's right there in the sentence, right above the ID list, and that tells you. Now that doesn't mean that your hiring company may not require another one, but that's anything could happen. But it's usually everybody's going off of what the lender says, and the lender drafts that Patriot Act form, so you can tell right there. And the other thing is the secondary form of ID doesn't have to be a big deal. So it really, if approached proactively, it shouldn't trigger people. So usually I'll just say, all right, and then I also need a secondary form of ID. It can be literally anything with your name printed on it. If you have your social security card, great. If you have a passport, awesome. If you have a water bill, a debit card, a credit card, your Costco card, whatever you've got with your name actually printed on it, I could use that, because everybody has that stuff super handy. A lot of times people think, oh, I'm going to have to go get another ID, or I have to get my social security card. I got to rummage through and find my military ID from 30 years ago. It doesn't have to be anything like that. So I like to just throw it out right in the beginning so they know it's going to be super easy. It's reaching over to the counter from their Costco trip and getting it that way.
Okay. Thanks. I really appreciate answering the answers to the question.
Absolutely, no problem. Thanks for being here. Terry Golden, how are you today? You want to unmute and tell us what's going on? There you are. What state are you in, Terry?
You hear me now?
Sure do. What state are you in?
Good. I am, my state of mind or my physical state?
Physical state today for this call.
Florida.
Florida, all right.
I am in Florida. I have been a notary and title closer for very many years. In Florida, I've been getting a lot of last minute calls. This afternoon, I received one at like 12 for a 2 o'clock closing. Then it went to 3 o'clock. Then it went to 4 o'clock. Now it's 5 o'clock. Now, how do I handle this? Do I charge extra? Because I did give up other closings because I was responsible for this one.
Yeah, good question. So I'll tell you how I would handle it. And then I'd love to hear how Carol and Laura would handle it too. Number one, I make sure that who's ever hired me knows I'm a professional and I'm not just sitting around waiting for them and their documents and their clients. So I've got to establish that establish a boundary there. So the first time it would change. Okay, guys, we're getting a lot of people that are unmuting. So I'm just going to ask you to double check and make sure that you are muted so we don't get that background noise. So the first time it would change, if they tried to do that without a conversation, like it just bumped, then I would immediately contact them and let them know, even if I don't have an appointment at 4 o'clock and they moved it to 4 o'clock, it's going to be a big deal. It's like, okay, I've got another engagement at 4 o'clock. Let me see if I can change that for you. And then, so it's not just, oh, Bill's just sitting around and I can do whatever I want. Then if it happened again, I might just contact them. And if I'm okay and I don't mind and it's not raising any negative energy and it's not affecting other appointments, I might just let it be and just say, okay, as long as we can get this done by 6, I am your man. I'm your person for this. I'm your notary. But if it goes later than that, I'm probably going to have to cancel. If it is bringing up negative energy for you and it is affecting your other future appointments, then I would immediately just let them know, I'm going to have to cancel this. I'm a professional notary. This is what I do for a living. And I have other appointments that's now impacting. That's how I would handle it. Laura, Carol?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. And look at the three of us on screen. Three buddies
How'd that
here.
happen?
I don't know, but that's really cool. First time it ever happened. Go ahead, Laura.
No, I was going to say similar reaction. First of all, if I accept the later time, I'm not charging them. Remember, it's not about one assignment, it's about the big picture.
Right.
However, like Bill, I let them know you have this long to get the documents to me for that revised time. And if I start getting other appointments, I will have to let this one go. I'll call you and let you know I'm not your person anymore. So it's not okay for them to hold me for 3 or 4 hours and expect me to stay committed to them for that one job when I could be taking other appointments.
And you don't think I should tell them that at 5 o'clock, it would be more money?
Well, if you're going to tell them it's going to be more money, if you're saying, look, you want me to do this, but it's not until 5 o'clock, but it's all this time you're sitting waiting. If you want to negotiate a higher fee, I'm not telling you not to. I'm just saying, keep in mind, the bigger picture and whether or not you're going to do business with this company again. And you might not want to do business with a company that, treats you that way. I'll tell you, they only do it once with me, and then I'm not their notary, not only for that job, but I don't do work with companies that tie me up like that.
Yep.
There's too much work out there. You can open your door and jobs are falling on your porch. We don't need to be sitting at home waiting for them to get their stuff together.
Right. Well, I also find after all these years that there isn't a tremendous loyalty with a lot of companies, with most companies. So
Terry, you decide with your gut what you want to do with them. I don't think there's There's several different alternatives for you, and you need to make that decision, not us.
Yeah, okay, I will.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Welcome. All right. Looks like we have iPhone. Is it iPhone Junior? iPhone? Want to unmute? Tell us what state you're in. We've already had we have a couple of iPhones on there. If you haven't changed your name and you raised your hand and your name is iPhone on Zoom. Going once? Okay, we'll be here and come back to you. Quinones family. Got the whole family here? How's it going? Unmute, tell us what state you're in and.
What, am I unmuted?
I'm sorry?
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi.
Okay, cool. All right, Adam and California.
All right.
All right, so the question, I have a few questions. Bill, I met you last year at the Notary Symposium.
Oh, right.
And I appreciate all three of you and everything you guys do. I get a ton of good stuff from this. I listen to it as I'm driving from appointment to appointment. I guess the biggest thing I have now is trying to, I have a bunch of different escrow officers I work with, and trying to, I guess, be mindful of, I'm always, I always thank them, and, when I see them, I do different things, but I guess maybe the consistency, I guess, I'm not sure, it's more of a babble than a question, I guess, but it's more of like how to be more consistent with thanking them, being thankful for, their business, but not being like pushy, not being like
overbearing.
If that makes sense at all. I'm just not sure where the happy medium is. Whether it be cards. I know you talked about is it CRM? Is that what it's called? No, maybe
No,
I'm not.
Send out cards.
Yes, something like that. But handwritten ones. I'm not that type of guy to like, it's hard. It's definitely a hard thing for me to like write stuff out. So anyways, yeah. So.
Okay. Great question. So I'm just going to summarize this for everybody listening, and you tell me if I've nailed it on the head. What you're asking is, how can you reach out, show gratitude and appreciation to your clients without seeming desperate or overbearing or clinging?
Yes.
Okay, great. It's a delicate balance sometimes. And I have done all extremes of this. When I first started sending thank you cards, I would send one with every single loan. When you're doing 6 or 7 of these a day, and 3 of them might be to the same escrow officer, it loses its power, and they tend to get a little bit of annoyed with it. And I've had people pull me in and say, look, you don't have to do this anymore. It's okay. We loved it in the beginning. You got our business. Now let's just have some fun with this. So I think for me, even monthly was a little too much, depending on the relationship, right? If they're sending me 3 or 4 signings a month, I still might stay in touch with them on a monthly basis because I'm ready for more. If I'm getting 20, 30 signings a month, then we've got a solid relationship. We've got a good thing going. I'm probably talking to them every day. Probably they're talking to me more than they're talking to their spouse. So we're good, we're solid. So I might do a quarterly card, or what I do now is I just do a kind of a seasonal card. So I do regular cards with whatever the season's going on, happy holidays. We do send out something in the summer usually. I get them a Christmas gift, that type of thing. So there's different tiers of it. When it's anytime you get a new client though, or a new customer, then you would definitely send a thank you card to every single one of them. Even if it's a signing company, send it to the signing company. Don't send it to the escrow officer that is involved through the signing company, because that looks like you're poaching it. But send it to whoever hires you, whoever called you and gave you this signing. Send them a thank you card if it's the first one. And then you can kind of get a feel for how things should go. If you've got a rapport, you don't want to go over the top. You might drop in, send them a gift card every now and then, just surprise them with it.
Yeah.
Does that help you at all?
Yeah, I do. Like, there's like one escrow office that's near me that, it was kind of like up and down. Like, they use me, then they wouldn't, and then they would. And I'd reach out, email, hey, how's it going? Happy Monday, stuff like that. And I just, and then just let's say this month the volume has gone up. So it's like, do I buy them lunch? Like I don't want, again, I don't want to be like overbearing. I don't want it to seem disingenuous. You know what I mean? I am very grateful for their business, but I just sometimes I'm just not really sure.
The cool thing about all this is there's no rules. So I encourage you, like Carol said at the beginning of this call, is to trust your gut. If your gut, if it comes up, like, I think I'd like to buy this office lunch, then buy that office lunch, or at least offer. I've been turned down. They're like, no, we're buying you lunch. In fact, our vendor is coming in on Friday. You come in and join us for lunch. That kind of conversation happens.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do it, so don't say, hey, I'm on my way in, or I can swing by and pick up lunch for people. Number one, the right client values you so much that they can't believe that you would actually spend money on them. So sometimes they feel a little uncomfortable. You almost have to train them for this. So instead check in with the branch manager or your contact and just say, hey, I just want to show some gratitude for your office. I really love our working relationship. And on Friday, the 23rd, I would like to buy everybody in your office lunch, the escrow officers, the assistants, everybody. And here's how I was thinking that we could go here, here, or here. Give them 3 options. I'd like to choose local places because it supports local, and that means a lot to certain people. So you have like the healthy eating choice. You have a pizza parlor, and then maybe you have a pasta or something, or burgers or something like that, right? You always give them a healthy option because everybody in an escrow office is on a diet. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Everybody is, but they're still going to choose the burgers or the pizza option. That's just how this stuff works. But give them the options, and then they'll be appreciative, and you'll work it out, and it's nice and organized that way.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
No problem. Carol, Laura, do you have any other suggestions on that, on how you show gratitude?
No, I think you said it fine. No need to repeat it.
Awesome.
Got it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great problem to have, Adam. Thanks for bringing that.
Definitely.
All right. I'll go back to iPhone real quick. iPhone, did you figure out who you were?
Hi.
Clarissa, I don't think it's you, though.
Can you guys hear me?
No, I can't hear you very well. And I don't think it's you. Clarissa, I see your hand, but you're down at the bottom of the list. So I'm going to mute you again. We'll get to you, hopefully. I'm going to go to Karen W. Karen W. from Florida. Thanks for being here.
That's me. Hi.
Hi.
Quick question here. Is it standard practice for notaries to automatically provide the client with a copy of the unsigned documents? Because I read all the instructions, and I have some signing services that says, yes, give them a copy, and others no, because they go through portals or they email them. And I got a call from a signing service that I did the work like this summer. And they asked me if I provided a copy of the documents to the client. And my response was, well, if it was in my instructions, then I would. And her response was, you mean you don't provide a copy? So I said, no, but if you would like for me to, and email them to, I make a copy and I'll take it over. I was trying to, backpedal, but they didn't ask. So is it standard practice for us to automatically make copies?
Good question. So I think the policy you've adopted, right, is going by the instructions is generally safe. Still, I think overall there's a more blanket policy, an expectation, really, just an expectation that the loan signing agent will provide a blank copy. We should always count on that. In fact, it used to be pretty unusual not to supply. I was lucky to find quite a few clients that keep that as regular practice, though. But you would still see in bold sometimes, borrower does not need copies. That was like a selling point. So I'd still say, and Laura, you tell me, in your experience, is that still a safe assumption that we should count on providing the copies?
Yeah, I would count on providing the copies unless they tell you not to. So all of mine either don't say any, they tell me to do it, or they don't say anything except for Quicken. You know, I know about Quicken and I don't have to do it for them. I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of advantages to having that second copy there. One is I get shorted on right to cancels. I have a place to go. They make a mistake I can't fix. I have a place to go. The way I present documents is I present from the unsigned copies and they're working with the copies. So that allows me to be 6 feet away and I don't have to be looking over their shoulder or anything. So I get a lot of value in having that second set.
Excellent. Does that help answer and clarify, Karen?
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and just make it standard practice, because what I've done on my little Excel spreadsheet where I keep all my information, I now have a new column that says copy, so I can put yes or no. So if somebody asked me, you know, 2 months from now, if I provided a copy, I can definitely give them a definitive answer on that now.
Perfect.
So I'll make that my standard practice unless they say no.
All right, sounds good, Karen. Thanks for being here.
Mhm.
All right, user. User, if you know who you are, you can unmute, tell us what state you're in and ask your question. If you don't know who you are, I'm going to go to Karen Singleton. Karen Singleton, thanks for being here. You want to unmute and ask your question?
Thank you. Thank you for taking my question. My name is Karen Singleton and I am from Florida as well. And I have a question in regards to when you receive an assignment direct from the title company. I received the assignment and it was in the evening. It was like a 6 o'clock appointment. And I received the document same day. And I was after the signing, I had to take it to FedEx because it had to be at the back at the title company the following day. So I located the FedEx and it was like 1 mile, a mile and a half from where I was doing the signing. And so I thought everything was okay. I get to the FedEx and it turns out that their last shipment, their last pickup is at 5:30. So that was before my closing, right? And it was on the seller side only, so it wasn't a lot of pages. I tried to contact the title agent. I called her on the phone. She didn't answer. I sent her an email from FedEx. Once I got there, she didn't respond. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, they must have made a mistake on when the documents need to be there. Let me just send it out anyway, and then they'll get them the next day, which is 2 days.
Right.
Right. So I thought everything was fine. And the next day comes when the documents are supposed to be there, and the title agent still had not responded to my email from the night before or my phone call. Right. And so I thought everything was fine. But then come afternoon, I guess after when the document in their mind should have been there, I got a phone call asking me where the documents was. And so I asked her, I told her that I sent her an email. I tried to get a hold of her because there was no FedEx. I mean, I asked the FedEx representative, are there any FedExes that have later pickups? And they told me no. So I just went on and did the documents. Well, the title agent felt that wasn't accurate, that they do have later pickups, but the representative wasn't telling me the right thing. So she asked me, did I do a scan back? And I said no, because she didn't ask me to do a scan back. That wasn't part of the instructions. And I was already at the FedEx, but I could have paid to have them scan it in, but that wasn't in my mind to do. What would you have done under those circumstances?
Good question, Karen. So for me, I know that there are different times for different FedEx pickups around the city. So I would probably have jumped online. You'd think that you could count on the customer service rep to tell you, and it kind of depends on your market city too. Like wherever you are in California, that could have an impact on this.
I'm in Florida.
I'm sorry, Florida. So it depends on where you're at. Sometimes there are later pickups. Sometimes if you're near an airport, they'll have a 9 or a 10 p.m. drop off that you can do. It's kind of a pain to do it, but when you have to fulfill an order, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. So that's probably what I would do. Carol, Laura, any other suggestions on that? Yeah, Tina said she chased the FedEx
I
driver.
know all, I'm just thinking, depending on where the package is going, I know I have last pickup starting at 3 o'clock until about 4:35, depending on which one I go to. And then I have a hub in Modesto that I can go right to the hub, forget the shipping centers, and just go there because I get a little time. And if it's staying in California, I know I can go to 7 o'clock if it's staying in California. So that's information I think all signing agents should know. You should know your territory. You should know all of the different locations where you could make a drop. What's the last time they can accept a drop based on your state or out of state? Because you'll probably have a later time for your own state than you would for out of state, so that you don't get that information. Regarding the scan back, the first thing that came to my mind was if they were expecting it and I couldn't get a hold of them, I probably would have done a scan. I would have done a scan back because I know it's not going out anyways. I would have done the scan back and then sent it off. But that would have just been, not because that would have been the standard practice. I would have just been trying to problem solve that specific situation.
Yeah, well, I do have the FedEx app on my phone. I'm in South Florida, and where was the city that I was in, the last pickup was the latest pickup was 6:30. So there was like no way, and I was not near an airport. So that wasn't even an option. I would have to drive to Miami, which that would have been further out for me to go.
So sometimes
I'm sorry, Karen, this is after the fact.
Yeah.
I'm talking about proactively.
Yeah.
If you knew already that the latest you could possibly drop a package is 6:30 and you have no other options, when you accept the job and that job appointment is not enough time to conduct it and get there, that's when you have the opportunity to say, look, I'm not going to meet FedEx in time at this. You got to move the appointment up, or you're going to need to accept it, right? Or or they're going to ask you for a scan back. This is proactive thinking that I'm giving you, not after the fact. I probably would have thought, dang it, I didn't take care of this. I'll just scan it back and then I'll pop it in. And that I know a scan back will take care of it. But proactively, I just got a call from a title company, and I said, okay, they met my price, fine, I'll take the job. And they tell me it's like, I don't know, 5:30 in the evening. And they said, and the policy of this lender is, if you can't meet the FedEx deadline, you must scan back. They just said it to me up front. And I said, okay, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. My policy is I don't accept scan back assignments. So you need a different notary. You see, because I catch it right there. Now, he was not very happy that I said that. And he said, well, make sure you're never undisturbed again with this kind of request. Yeah. Well, it's okay for me. But that's where you catch it, is when you're accepting the call and they're giving you the appointment time. You should know that anything after 4 o'clock, maybe, it's not doable.
Yeah.
If I can't make FedEx, what do you want me to do? Yeah. That way you don't have to deal with it later.
Yes. That was my first assignment that was that late. I've never had a late assignment before. And I'm always proactive in the sense that I always scout out to see where the nearest FedEx, the actual FedEx location is, because I never go to Office Depot or to Walgreens. I never go to those facilities, like third-party facilities that go directly to the FedEx. So I am always proactive in looking for that type of information. But I was not where I fell short is that I did not check to see how late they do their shipment. When is the last shipment?
So it's a very valuable lesson, one that we've all learned the hard way. So thank you so much for sharing that and allowing us to talk about it. Guys, we are past the 1 hour mark. Karen, thank you so much. Carol Ray, thank you so much for being here with us. Laura Biewer, always appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much. We'll be here same time, same place next Tuesday. Next Tuesday for Tuesday Notary Titans. See you later, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.